I'd like to call the regularly scheduled Board of Finance meeting for Monday, December 15th, 2014 to order. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board in public forum? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 2. Approve the minutes. 2.1 would be the regular meeting minutes of December 15th, 2014. Is there a motion?
Can't do that, that's tonight.
Oh, yes, excuse me, you're right. November. Thank you.
One item.
Yep. November 17th.
Yeah, the meeting was at 7:30 PM on November 17th.
Well, we might have started late.
Has it down as
8:30 a.m. Okay.
Nice.
So we were sitting here a long time until I called the meeting to order, which was, what, 11 hours later? Not that we talk about things outside of meeting times, however. All right, any comments, questions on the minutes outside of those?
What appears to be maybe one clarification on page 2, right down at the bottom. In the last paragraph, third sentence, it has been built into this year's plan. Just for clarification, maybe you should say capital plan.
Fine.
That's it.
Good. Anyone else?
I had a question, as you pointed out, or we discussed briefly at the last meeting, and we can wait maybe till the school reports. I'm interested in this antenna project that's referenced on the second page.
Yep.
I want to, because it comes up in the school board minutes as well.
Okay.
But other than that,
There was one item that I had here on page 3. Dr. Freeman said there were other projects we would need to touch base with Mr. Gurnham to get back to the board. And this was relative to the health and safety stuff. No, excuse me, it was if there are other site improvements that were planned that will not get done now. And I'm not sure that we got that follow-up. So, Linda, could you check on it? I also had no, I'm done. Anyone else? Hearing none, is there a motion to accept the minutes as amended?
So moved.
A second.
second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'm going to abstain.
Abstain. Okay, item 3, correspondence. No standing building committee minutes again?
Yeah.
We never got them?
I have not been able to attend the last 2 meetings due to work conflicts. And I did have meeting minutes from November 4th that I ended up getting. But the board hasn't gotten.
Right.
And then December came and went, and I guess there's a timing issue on review of the standing building committee of the minutes prior to it going out to us.
Okay.
So we might have to look at the timing of that a little bit better. I could bring that up to the standing building committee and the chairman, because when I can't attend the meetings and then I don't have minutes,
Right.
it's difficult because they're having their meetings and then they have a week to get them out and then they want to review them before it gets to us. And if they're not reviewed, I might get them the day after the Board of Finance meeting. And then it's kind of old news by the time I come to you the next month. So this is just one of those unique situations where I haven't been able to go the last 2 meetings. So there's nothing that is really outstanding that I would call to your attention. I did ask a couple of questions of Mr. Ornstein from the December meeting. They were really regarding projects that I'm sure he probably read right in. He's usually very good about that, reading into the record what my questions were and then they answer them. The one thing that did come up that I actually had a question about that the first selectman is here that I'm wondering if he could address.
I'm sorry.
Joe? There was some talk in the November meeting about
Standing building.
standing building regarding It was regarding, I guess, the Baldwin Middle School project, and there was about a new procedure requiring the Board of Selectmen approval of change orders over 5%. And it said new procedure. I'm not sure how new that is, and it was, I don't know if that's something that has been recently adopted, or?
That's been taken care of,
Okay,
okay? Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. I just wanted to make sure, because it came up and I read it and I was like, new procedure?
No, that's not new.
If it's been taken care of, that's fine. It's something, so it's not new, it's
No, it's not new.
old.
Okay. That goes back several months ago.
Several months. Okay, that's fine. That really is the only thing in standing building. Everything is basically proceeding as planned. When I get the meeting minutes, obviously I will take a look at those and scour through them again. Thanks, Jeff.
Item 3.2, pension committee minutes. Comments, questions, Sarah? Sheila has just handed me the cumulative returns for the pension fund. At this point through November, we're looking at a 1.98%. Or was that just for December?
No, the far hand, tell me what you...
Far right-hand column is reflecting a 1.9%.
Yes, that's correct, yes.
Yeah, 1.98%.
Cumulative,
For the year.
For the year.
through November 30th.
I had a question.
Certainly.
I was just curious, I guess this goes on a bit of a tangent, but was the GEA contract approved and will they move to the defined contribution plan?
The GA contract has been ratified by the union and was approved by the Board of Selectmen in the November meeting. And the new employees will be under the defined contribution plan.
Thank you.
Yeah, they're on the 401 now. Yeah.
Does that complete the negotiations? Does that complete negotiations, or do you still have,
Oh, no, we're done.
we're done,
this
we're
year.
done. Well done. Good job.
Thank you.
Anything else on pension? No? Item 4, review and accept the report of expenditures for the Board of Education for November 2014. Ted Sands, and he's making his first appearance here presenting? That's correct. Well, welcome. We're not as bad as everybody says we are. Right, Linda?
Not at all.
Not at all. Is there anything you'd like to bring to our attention?
Let me just review November for you. The expenditures for the month were $4,285,042.61. Expenditures and encumbrances through the end of November were 35.77% of the budget as compared to 33.27% in the prior year. The revenues for the month were fairly small. We had a magnet transportation grant of $13,224 for the regular transportation line and $32.40 for a donation from Coca-Cola for the building and teacher supplies. Salaries were approximately the same as last year. Employee benefits were approximately the same as last year. There was some up and down. Purchased services were higher. Legal services in particular were higher because we had 3 union negotiations going on. There was an error in the service to machines line, which is going to get corrected. The tuition line is higher than last year because we have some additional outplacements that were not budgeted for, and we are running higher costs for some of our special education transportation. And I might just take a minute and elaborate on that one. on the special education. As you might recall, when we outplace students on a special education, we pick up a certain portion. It used to be 66,000. Now the state has changed it. We pick up 69,000 per student. And then anything over that, in theory, the state is supposed to reimburse us. Now, the state has been, in fact, reimbursing us at about 70%, and in some cases, they've been quibbling. We have a couple of cases here that were not budgeted due to changes in the needs of the student. As you know, whatever the student needs, we're going to do. So one of these is a particularly expensive outplacement because it's a residential outplacement. It's over $300,000. And the other one's about $150,000. So between them, we've got almost $500,000 that's not in the budget. And although we should receive some of this money back, and I believe it's in February, Linda, that we get it, we do not accrue the expected payment from the state because we're just not sure we're going to get it. So at this point, this tuition line and the transportation affiliated with some of this is going to be higher than we have seen in the past. We're hopeful that we'll get some of that back in February. But this is an area that we're watching because it's just something that's not at the levels that we had expected. The supplies and materials are lower than the previous year. That's primarily timing. Capital budget is higher. It's primarily due to timing on the technology lease. The transportation is higher. That's partially timing and partially related to the special education. The total of the warrants was $1,973,941.50. And Linda and I are prepared to answer any other specific questions that the board might have with respect to that.
Mike?
You were on capital
Okay.
just a second ago, and site improvements
Yes.
is over. Could you just review, over
Over budget.
over budget,
Yeah.
period? And I realize that there's encumbrances out there. Is that now, have we encumbered and now we're going to be done through the rest of the year?
No.
Or is there going to be something coming back, or
The two things that are, well, the three things that are affecting that line. In the summer, we worked on 2 playgrounds. And as you remember, the PTOs picked up the cost of the new playground equipment, but the Board of Ed had to take down the old equipment and prepare the site for the new equipment. So that came in. We had fairly extensive work at a couple of schools to get ready for the kindergarten. And then we had the start of expenditures for the antenna system at the high school. And that project will continue. So I would say the bulk of the capital here should get better because the playgrounds and the kindergartens are done, but we're still going to have some spending on some other projects.
do you know how much?
I don't at this time, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near the magnitude of what you saw here.
Ken?
Yeah, I have some questions that relate to the warrants. May I go to those?
Yes, absolutely.
Actually, I usually have one, I have four.
Okay,
If I might go through them quickly. The first on page 5 of the warrants, a
okay.
$14,000 allocation for HC Planning Demographer.
That's the enrollment study that.
The enrollment study.
Right, that Dr. Freeman just talked about.
The second, which is something we raised earlier, which was on the kindergarten renovations, and you were going to update this. Originally, I think that number was around $44,000, and it's gone up, it's appreciably higher than that. And I noticed on page 7 that there is an item for $11,500 for kindergarten
Refreshments, looks like.
Yeah, that's how they've been calling these kindergarten renovation
The renovation,
projects.
they call it
They've been
refreshment.
Refreshing the kindergarten
So what,
classrooms.
my question is, what's the number at now? What did it cost us to prepare the kindergartens? Total.
I don't have an updated number for you, I can get it.
Please.
I'm not sure what it is now, if it's changed from what we had said before, the 33.
I think you
1,000.
said originally 44, but you expected it was higher.
I'll check on it for you.
Thank you.
Just to tie that into my question before, so those expenses were coming out of site improvements. And I understand that that was an expense that we may not have necessarily anticipated. But I would be curious to know what that amount is, because that is a good amount of money, which would throw the site improvement number over. Clearly, but it's worth it, and the value's there because we have full-day kindergarten, so, okay.
And my recollection isn't what it should be, but I don't suspect that the board included classroom renovations in their capital line item because all-day kindergarten had not yet been approved.
Correct, but I believe also they didn't expect that there would be
As
much,
Right.
many.
Right.
If I remember correctly, there was some work that was going to be done that would have come out of the budget.
Right.
But as any renovation project,
Yes.
It became-
you get into something, and the next thing you got to pull this out and pull that out. So it did become more, but yeah.
Okay.
I understand more now based on the site improvement number, so thank you.
You still got
I
two
have-
questions left for
Yeah,
your
you've
board.
got two more questions.
I have two more. One is on page 10, I'll do them a little out of order. Page 10 happens to be the one I'm looking at right now. 2/3 of the way down, Unite Here Health, $18,000 for food service medical.
Yes. The food service union went off of our medical insurance plan
Okay,
and is on their own.
It's
through-
benefits.
Through their Unite, yes, it's benefits, their medical benefits through the Unite Here Insurance Fund.
And the fourth?
Back to page 7. Athletic training, $8,600. What is that? Under
Oh.
physical therapy and sports
Yes.
medicine?
Yes. That's a contract employee that provides physical therapy and training work, I believe at the high school, is that correct?
Yes, it's for the
Yeah.
athletic teams.
And it's,
The
Trainer.
on site, Trainer on
it's-
site.
yeah, it's a trainer on site, and we use this contract person because we don't have enough work to have somebody permanent on staff.
So the figure of $8,600, is that a semester, an annual figure? What is that figure? What does it cost us for
It's usually
that?
a season, but I'll double check what
So it
period
could
that
be a
covers.
semester.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll check to see if that, I don't remember exactly what period that covered.
That's it?
That's it for you?
Okay.
Ken, you're all set?
I'm all set.
Lou?
Again, on the warrants, a couple questions, really. There's a lot of purchases from Amazon, which generally, it just strikes me as interesting. I mean, I guess it's convenient like it is for everybody, right? The biology books in the middle, and again, it's lumped up, just like last month. There's like one item for $167 and then four little ones, 3 little ones. There's actually a biology book you can buy for $4.45 from Amazon.
It's a used replacement book.
That's what it
Wow.
is, used books.
Amazing. And so,
What happens when you buy the books from Amazon, sometimes you can't get them from one place, so they
Small in
send
order.
you, they send you
Yeah,
so
from this
many
vendor, and then
this
they have
one,
the
and then you
different-
get one from this one, and they all get
Interesting.
billed separately,
okay,
so.
fascinating. So it is cost effective and makes sense.
Yeah.
A couple items down below that, there's car phone mount kits. What's the purpose of that? Not a big number, but I'm just sort of curious. For the facilities trucks or something? I mean,
Yeah, they got new phones, so these were new mounts for the phones in the trucks, I believe.
okay,
I'll double check on that one, but I think
yeah,
that's.
that sounds right.
Because we did get new phones for the maintenance
So they had old car phone mounts and the new phones just
I don't
don't
know if
fit?
they had mounts
Oh,
before.
they didn't have them. So it's just a new thing.
Yeah.
No, I had a question also about the, as I mentioned, I'm sure you told us about this before, it was in our minutes, but I'm just not familiar, or I don't recall this GHS radio project with the potential estimate of $300,000. This just came up in our last meeting as well. This is something for the new high school?
It's for the new high school.
This is the project for the new high school.
And what is it?
It's there are, let me step back. Because of the architecture of the high school, there are certain places in the high school that would be cell phone dead zones. Or would be dead zones for the Wi-Fi. Just because of the nature of the concrete structures, et cetera. So in order to provide Wi-Fi coverage through the whole high school, there was a system developed of repeater antennas that are going to be placed in these out-of-the-way locations so that there's a uniform signal through the whole building. And for whatever reason, that was not part of the original projection. And so we agreed at the Board of Ed that this was a necessary thing. But, so we're running it through our budget as opposed to through the high school.
But it's $300,000 to put cell phone repeaters in?
What?
Well, it's really Wi-Fi repeaters, and you have to cable
It's
No, that's the same.
It's a new code item. When the building was designed, it wasn't code, but it's now part of the code, and the fire department, emergency services people have, Joe's chiming
Yeah,
in.
if I can interject, that Linda was on the right track there. It is a new code item. It's required by emergency services for their communications in, God forbid, of an emergency event. And when the building was designed, Ted is correct, it was not a code item. And it's not a reimbursable item from the state at this point because it wasn't part of the original design. But it is required by the fire marshal now. And it is for emergency services purposes. It's not so I can get Wi-Fi on my iPad or my cell phone, but it is for emergency services communication. It goes back, if you remember, 9/11, when the fire department, police department couldn't communicate properly or with from the outside command with the squads in the towers. That could happen in this building if we didn't have the repeaters. So it's not part of the original design of the building, but the school system decided that they would fund it out of their operating budget.
Okay. So for that number, does it have like backup, and for that purpose, I imagine?
I'm sorry?
Given that purpose,
Yeah.
and just again, that expense strikes me as a lot, but
It is
that
a
makes
lot.
more sense, what
I-
you're saying. Does it have like backup power system? I mean, is it,
Yep,
so that it's
a
really
hybrid
more of
system.
a, okay,
yep.
Yeah.
so it is more than,
It's purely an emergency service system. It's not so we can all use our,
Okay.
They have their own they're gonna have their own Wi-Fi in the building.
Yep.
For access to the internal network. I don't know about access to the external network, the general cellular network, et cetera. But what strikes me as interesting here, the high school is gonna be designated as an emergency shelter.
correct.
So, not to quibble, but why is all this money coming out of the Board of Ed's budget when it's emergency services that's driving the need for communication? This is our emergency services facility.
There's a section of the building that was designated as the shelter, which is the gym portion
Right.
and the part of the auditorium, that lower section there.
Right.
But the entire building has to have communication, whether you're on the upper floors or other areas of the building that need the repeater system.
You got,
You know I'm going to say something about this, because I know some people in this room and probably in the television audience are like, well, why wasn't the school designed that way to incorporate this? And yes, there have been some new code requirements that come through, and when there's a, welcome to our world, that when there's a code issue that happens in between the design of a building and the construction of a building, it really goes to the owner. It's not something that should have been it could come out of contingency. This is something that obviously is coming out of the Board of Ed, out of their budget, so it's not another bonded issue. But also know that on a school like ours, the way it's designed and the levels and the grades, there's going to be concrete areas where there's going to be, and you alluded to this, Ted, and I appreciate that. And I think Joe knew a little bit more about this as well. You're not going to have a school completely designed to be able to alleviate some of those connectivity issues, especially with the concrete. When you're talking about the media centers and the cafeteria and the common areas, that's going to probably be fine, especially the emergency shelter areas are probably all fine. But when you're getting into the depths of the auditorium and into the green area and into the part of the building that's backed up into the grade, it's very difficult to have any communication there without having something hardwired in and then the repeaters.
Right, and I want to be
So-
clear, we're talking about communication with the outside world, not to access systems within the facility.
That's right.
Right.
All right, because that would be shameful, but because they're
The
putting
whole
in a
building is
wireless.
connected.
Right.
But it's the connectivity
It's
from
the
those
outside.
areas out, which can be considered safety concerns, but now, it wasn't required, but now it is required. And
so
now you
for
have to
instance,
put it in.
we'd have the command vehicle out on the street, and
That's right.
it's up
We
on,
have-
it's up on New England Road. In order to get somebody down in the depths of the building, they need to have this
So
system.
you have your fire command vehicle outside, and you have your police command vehicle outside, let's say your state command vehicle's outside. They have to be able to communicate
With people in the building.
right, with the squads inside. Yeah.
I mean, the important part is not in the building, but every part of the building, where people may be.
That's a short paragraph to describe all that. So thank you for all the further information. No, it makes a lot of sense, and I appreciate it.
Ted, I had a couple of questions back on the warrants. On page 3, third line item down, Kerma 7113, Board of Ed laptops and mobile technology. A, the date. B, Kerma, which is our insurance carrier.
Right, it's an additional premium to cover the additional equipment that was added off of the 7113 technology lease.
Okay, that makes a little more sense.
It's hard to put a description
Yeah. Well,
in there.
Okay. Also on the same page, halfway down, the college internship program, November 1 tuition. Could you refresh my memory about that program?
That is a special ed tuition program for an outplacement for,
College?
it's actually a life skills,
I needed that kind of clarification.
Yes,
I didn't
it's-
think we were paying for anybody
no,
to
it's
go
not
to college.
college, it's,
All right.
the name just,
Right.
is deceiving.
If that's so, could I sign up for that?
It's not a bad price for college.
Yeah, it's a pretty good price, that's right. Tuition bills I've been paying, I don't know, close to that. On page 8, safety priority consultants, facility safety training. Is this training our staff to use the new system, safety systems that have been implemented in the building?
No, this is training that was done for all staff. They do an annual training seminar, so it's all safety training training on the lifts, and other training that they receive.
Okay,
And they do this every year.
so this is not security related, this is an OSHA type thing?
Right.
Okay. That's it. Did you have, same question?
I had one question. Going back to the Operations Committee minutes of November 10th, I'm curious about this notion of reimbursing increased electricity costs from the new high school to, your budget, that you expect to get some credits for that. And I'm wondering about the extent of credits that you could assume from the new construction.
They're not really credits. It's the electricity for the new high school is being billed to the Board of Ed.
It's
But
a minor factor.
But the high school building committee is paying us for the electricity while the building is being built.
Okay.
Because the building is connected through
Right.
the existing
It's-
high school right now. The meter's in the high school.
Right. That's all I had.
Is that, Mike, is that standard? They're feeding the new high school from the power distribution from the old high school?
No, it's being billed directly to us.
Oh, it's just billed.
It's just
Okay.
being
It's
billed
just-
directly.
it's the
way it's
not-
being billed.
Oh,
It's being
okay.
billed directly to the.
You said
to-
feeding
no.
through it, I was like.
No,
whoa.
it just,
Yeah, I thought they had a separate power distribution
It was set
plan.
up as billed to us so that later on it doesn't get,
And we're well past the construction pole with the temporary electrical connection, right? Anybody else, questions?
I got a few.
Okay.
Just going back to the budget items and the expenditures, you noted that there's variance in the pension line because of the defined contribution pension plan. And I kind of wanted to just get my hands around it to see how this might work. Is this because you're going to now be matching some revenues that come in, that when people make their contributions, but later, when we make the pension contributions for the additional pension, it would get offset?
In the past, for the original pension plan, we only made contributions once a year. Now, we're making contributions on a regular basis to the new plan, so instead of having just a one-time payment, now you have it spread out throughout, this additional payment throughout the year, so it's going to throw off the percentages.
Not going to offset those payments made in advance.
No, they're two different.
I follow you now.
They've all been budgeted, it's just,
Okay.
one of them, we make a one-time contribution to the,
In July.
in July 1st, or as close to July 1st as I can.
Okay. The warrants also caught my attention with the car phone mounts and some of the costs for the cell phones. And I was just curious, how many of the staff have a cell phone? Do all the staff have cell phones that are paid for by the school, or?
No, the only ones that are paid for by the school are facility,
maintenance
the-
people.
and it's not all facilities, it's the maintenance employees, the
We're
plumber.
traveling around from site to
The
site.
plumber, the carpenter, the HVAC
The at-large.
person,
the
the
at-large
electrician.
resources.
Yeah.
The technology director, the facilities director. We pay for one for the athletic director. And then
Okay, it's a
there's
small
one that,
subset,
yeah,
though.
yeah.
I was just wondering if everybody got a cell phone?
No.
No.
It's
No.
people who
There
are operating
there
out of
are
the office.
Administrators that are reimbursed $50 a month for their cell phone usage if they, or for their cell phone plan, because we found a couple years ago during one of the storms that we weren't able to reach administrators. So in order to make sure that they have cell phones that we can reach administrators during an emergency in their buildings, then not every administrator submits for the $50 reimbursement, some do.
Okay.
So that, you may see that in here to administrators for cell phone
Quite
reimbursement.
honestly, I think that's pretty reasonable. Administrators, if they're on call 7/24, 365, and we expect to be able to get in touch with them, it's not unreasonable to pay for a portion of their cell phone
Yeah.
bill. I think that's,
So this one caught my attention too. I know that the graduation requirements are changing. I think they need to have more credits, getting a little tougher. But I noticed in the minutes that there might be an expectation that we need 1 to 2 more full-time employees just to handle some of the administration required for these new graduation requirements. So was that just discussion or possible, or where would those kind of costs be incurred? And wouldn't you go through kind of the same technique to equate each student's credits at the end of the year? Or?
I think the superintendent addressed some of this at the last meeting, in which he said that there was going to be some reassignment of people, that it wouldn't necessarily affect new hires. Is that correct?
I think
That's
that's,
correct.
Yeah,
that's correct.
There
It's
wasn't,
also-
there's,
Mr. Trotter, the graduation requirements are being phased in, so it will not impact the 4 grades at the high school at one time. We'll be starting with an incoming freshman class and then phased in through. So to Mr. Gammon's point, the staffing that may or may not be needed for that may be addressed through reallocation of existing staffing throughout the district.
Okay. I kind of came across without saying where I referenced this from. It was from Board of Education minutes from November 10th, and it was on page 5. So it just caught my eye, because I expected that there wouldn't be any increased costs associated with the new graduation requirements.
I had a follow-up question on the graduation requirements. What are the state requirements? I think this is state, is it 22 credits, or is that all it is? In core
Our
courses?
requirements are higher than the state's.
That's what I thought.
Okay, another thing that caught my eye from minutes from last month and this month is a swing in the food service. I think it was 7,500 profitability last month, is that right? And this month, a pretty substantial loss, 38,000.
Well, November is a tricky month because there are several days. The school week is broken up with the holidays, and that kind of creates problems with the food service, because you have a greater amount of spoilage, and you can't move the inventory. You get it in at the beginning of the week, but if you're not open for 2 or 3 days that week, part of that inventory is not going to be properly
high
utilized.
school only served meals for 13 days in the month of November. So they really only served half the month,
Partial month.
which
Yeah.
was
And then you noted that there was equipment costs
a few couple,
associated
yes,
with
it
that
was,
month
yeah,
to repair.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Linda, didn't we also?
Quite a swing.
Reimbursement in October, too, which was that, we had state reimbursement in October
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah. The state reimbursement that came in October doesn't come every month, so that skewed October's a little bit.
Okay,
And
so
we've
just
actually
kind of the
talked about-
perfect storm really,
Yeah.
really hurt that month.
November's loss was $16,622. I don't know what the minutes reflect for November. It was a year-to-date loss of $47,000, but November's loss was $16,000. They did have some additional equipment repair costs.
Okay. I had just another thing caught my attention. Let me at least reference the minutes this time. This is again the November 10th minutes. And this was, let's see the section here. Section 5. And this was an update from Attorney Millman on the Medical Claims and Affordable Care Act. There's a section here about Mr. Spurgeon, who had reviewed some of the fees and taxes that are associated with the Affordable Care Act. And there was some interesting discussion points here. There was, I guess, 5 big points. What caught my attention was point number 5, accessibility, affordability requirements, or pay-for-play fee.
What document are you reading from?
This is the minutes from November 10th.
Which
You have
ones?
them?
The full board?
The operations are full board.
It would have to be operations.
I'm sorry, Operations Committee. Correct.
Yeah, this would have to be operations committee because Spurgeon doesn't present to the full board.
Yeah.
Page?
What's
I'm
on-
going to say 2.
Number 10.
I'm looking at something completely different than you.
That's interesting.
Item number 5 is pictures.
Yeah. This is the
Yeah, that's-
Anybody else have
Let's
that?
see. Operations Committee, Monday, November 10th.
I think you're looking at
I have it here
Could you turn the page over? October 14th.
Oh, it's the
Oh, I am
October.
sorry.
Oh, October
Yeah.
14th, okay.
That's all right.
I apologize.
All right, so you're asking about paper play?
Yeah,
Or
paper
play.
play.
That's a real
It's,
question.
it's
Yeah.
not,
Well, what caught my attention is he said this was about providing some benefits to full-time, 95% of full-time employees working 30 hours or more, and the potential for staffing implications of fees up to 14 million? Okay. So the number really caught my eye.
yes.
Well, 14 is the whole, that would be Board of Ed in town
Okay, combined.
combined.
Which
But
is
that's an
somewhere
annual
in the
number
ballpark
for
of
what
where we
our,
are now.
that's a
So,
ballpark
yes,
for
we
what our
have-
claims are
We have to
running.
offer insurance to 95%, and I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head, 95% of
yeah.
our employees who work 30 hours or more, and if we don't, there's fees and taxes associated with not offering insurance benefits.
And is that the number that's represented there? Or is that the tax?
That's,
The anticipated tax?
That's not the tax.
That's not the Cadillac tax. This
No,
is- this
no,
would
no,
be
no.
the penalty if we didn't offer.
But we do,
Right.
right.
but we do.
It's designed to prevent people from calling everybody part-timers and not offering
Yeah,
insurance.
right.
I mean, it's a disincentive that's built into the law.
But we provide for anybody who's over 30 hours on a regular basis, we provide benefits.
Okay, I'm glad for the clarification, because it really caught my eye. I thought that was a pretty hefty number.
Some of those other taxes and fees that are coming with the Affordable Care Act are part of the reason why our contract negotiations, we've ended them prior to that 2018 deadline so that we can reopen it and renegotiate based on what comes down at that time. Because right now, we still don't know whether these are going to stay in effect or if they're
Right.
going to change.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
I just had one question.
Certainly, Jim.
On the warrants, page 2, there's an item for the MacBook Air Pro computers. I don't have any problem with the Air Pro, but there's also Chromebooks. Is there any rhyme or reason as to how you choose MacBooks versus Chromebooks, or I would think we'd want to have them all?
The Chromebooks are a much, is a much more pared down machine, and it's primarily used at the lower grades.
I see. So the MacBooks are for the higher grades?
Yeah.
then? Okay. I just didn't know if there was a uniform system throughout the school. where you
We have, well, the Chromebooks are, no. I mean, the Chromebooks are primarily oriented towards the elementary schools.
Anything further?
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Is there a motion to accept the bills to the Board of Education for the month of November in the amount of $2,898,673?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Any abstentions? Any recusals? No. Thank you. Move on to item 5, review and approve the report of expenditures for town government for November 2014. Sheila, what would you like to bring to our attention when you make it up here? I mean, good evening. First. Although, nobody in the audience saw it, but we already said hello.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, I'm happy to start with revenue. And I'll tell you why. As of 11/30/14, the columns are headed incorrectly, although the report is headed correctly. We've collected 54.8% of our revenue budget, compared to 52.2% last year. Finance, happy to say, is at 79.2% of the budget.
How about a stretch objective for you, huh? Come on.
Still have a ways to go to catch the Board of Selectmen, though.
Had to bring that up.
I do.
I had it highlighted to make sure that.
Yes, I've been reminded that Board of Selectmen is at a much, I can't even tell you. They've exceeded their budget by a large percentage, $37,000, basically.
That's what they used to call sandbagging. They used to call that sandbagging, the objectives.
That
It's
is,
not in the detail either. It just says
no,
30.
it is the sale of a fire vehicle.
Oh, there you
And that's
go.
where we've historically
And that
put
goes there
sale
instead
of,
of the fire
or
department?
auction of property. For the time being, yes, that's what we've been doing, so, yes. Other departments are higher than usual at this time of the year due to the inspection fees and the permitting fees from some of the developments that are going on in town. I guess in the health department, there have been more than the usual amount of septic system permits and inspections. So that's what you're seeing there. The question came up about youth and family being a little bit lower than last year, still above where they're supposed to be at this point in the year. Remember, they're also a month behind. And last year, they had a real rush for people signing up for insurance under Affordable Care. Tax collections are at 55.1% versus 53.4%, so they're quite a bit ahead of last year, but I really believe that's timing. They will not collect more than the levy. And we're always pretty realistic about the delinquent taxes and interest based on what's outstanding at the end of the year. So we'll check that, we'll watch that, but it's a good thing at least. It's not a bad timing issue. And everything else looks great for revenue.
Could you, you alluded to it briefly, but could you describe these road inspection fees? Why would it be at that level when we hadn't even anticipated it in the budgeting?
I think that's a pretty general line item description for inspection fees that the engineering department is responsible for and I think it's generally at Guilford Commons. And I think they're at the rock pile.
Oh, the rock pile, okay.
Yes. And I
Okay.
think that is a line item that, we were able to, we did not, and it's the right way, we didn't budget for these inspection fees or permit fees because we didn't know at the
Right.
time. So that's just
basically
a
the
place
rock
to
pile.
put it. Right,
Surprising source.
yes. Okay, any other questions on
Any
that
other
one?
questions on revenue? Nope.
Okay. Expenditures. We have expended 51.3%, obligated 51.3% of our budget, compared to 53.7% last November. It really is timing. You could see it in the debt service side, where we expended more at the end of November than we did last November than this November, but we're going to be at 100% at the end of the year. That's pretty much the case in most of the departments that you see that maybe are a little bit ahead of last year. We don't have FEMA to kind of skew the numbers, so they're real numbers, but there's nothing that I know of at this point that is reason to believe that we're going to be over in any department at this time.
Building department is over because we have the
Part-time.
building, the part-time
There's
employee for the
about-
high school, for the clerk of the works,
For the building
building.
inspector,
whatever.
yeah, and it's about $30,000, so we'll take care of that
That's good.
in December.
Excellent. On finance, this is not a question of finance, it's related to the audit. When do we anticipate the auditors will have the report for us?
In another couple of weeks.
Really?
If
That's
not by the end, we're hoping by December 31st. It could run into the first week of January.
Okay. So we assume we'd get presented or discussed in our January meeting?
I would say February would be safe. If you want, we can shoot for January.
Well, I guess, yeah,
That helps.
February is when when the budgets are presented, so that's a busy, of course, March.
We can
Yeah, let's see.
shoot for January.
Right.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Is Vanessa still our partner?
Yes, she is.
Would you let her know that I would like him in January?
We're working on the GASB 67 and 68 notes that are new this year, and, we're trying to gather information from the actuaries to get that completed. That's where
If it
we-
doesn't happen, then that's okay. On legal assessments and reval, how are we doing with reval claims, and are we continuing to see a drop off, or has it been going up again?
I wanted to get a status report for this meeting, and it just fell through the cracks. I can get it and send it to you,
That would be great,
send you the information.
thank
We
you.
haven't gotten any new ones,
Nothing new.
nothing new.
Have we had any settlements?
A few, but that's it.
Anything dramatic, any dramatic
No.
swings? No.
No.
Good. Any others? Have you sent in on expenditures? Warrants?
Yeah, I have something on the warrant. On the December 9th warrant, page 14. The general funds, okay? There's an overpayment listed for an ambulance fee, $600. Is that like one event? Is that, do you have any idea?
I can't.
Page
The warrant right
14,
now.
about halfway down.
What page?
Page 14.
14?
Halfway down?
Rawlings is the reference, which is an insurance audit subrogation company. But $600 seems like that would be the fee. Is that an aggregation of a bunch of fees that for some reason?
I'll have to check with
If
the
you could,
fire
I'm just-
department on that.
Yeah, I'm curious.
I believe they hired a collection agency, so that could be,
Well, that's what this company does.
right,
They
and so
do-
that would be an aggregate, I would assume. It wouldn't be one.
It seems like an awful lot for one
Right, no,
event.
I'm gonna.
And if it's like a
verify
year's
that.
worth of payments and then you're paying back 600, then okay, but.
Right, so, yes, I know the question.
That's not revenue. Right?
Well, it would be coming out of revenue, it would reduce revenue by that amount, I would think.
I'll check on that. I have the same questions. Okay. No.
Anything further? Any other? On warrants? Medical benefits.
Chip sealing.
What's that?
Notice $228,000 for chip sealing.
There's been a lot of chip seals. There's also some
Well,
new
chip
lines that have shown up in town. Some of the road striping has taken place, which is tremendous. Says- I don't know about you guys, but the eyesight at night, not so much anymore.
We're all there.
We are.
Man, so
Right.
it's nice to have the new lines.
Pretty soon the snow will cover all that.
Don't say.
Right.
All right, medical benefits?
So in November, the claims were $1,003,000.
Right.
So they were, not horrible.
Right.
As I was walking out the door, I was able to open the Anthem report to show where we were with the catastrophic claims, which I don't have that information through November. And then I didn't pick it up off the printer. But what I can tell you is that it's just a little bit more than the 419 that's covered by stop loss. I want to say it was about 450. I thought it was going to be more, so I was kind of surprised that the number was low. But what I also noticed is their claims number, which is always off from ours a little bit because of the timing, it was like 900,000, which means that next month we most likely will see another lower month, slightly lower. That's my projection on that. So we're trending in the right direction, I think. We're still projecting, though, a $300,000 deficit based on this set of projections. As we get, closer to June 30th, the projections get better and tighter, and so at this point, we're just going to hope that the catastrophic, the ISL reduction to 150 pays off.
That's fine. Capital project report? I had a quick question, Sheila, and it really had more to do with the layout. This report just keeps getting better and better, and I appreciate the time that you have spent to get this to this point. Except.
I know.
No. This is more to do with the way I visualize things.
Oh, okay.
And it would be helpful to somehow break the categories with the titles, and then the summary line at the bottom of each one of those categories. So for instance, the green would be titled Emergency Services Upgrades and Acquisitions, Bing, the five line items there, and then the totals right below it. Because as opposed to continuing to flip back and forth.
Okay.
Is that
no problem? That's fine. The except part that I thought you were going to refer to is I talked about this in the last meeting. There was the yellow authorization where it was combined. I started to break it out. I apparently didn't finish.
That's okay.
So I'll fix that next month. But that was in an attempt to try to show you which actual vehicles we bought rather than have it all lumped together.
Okay.
If I could just add, just to your point, visually, it is getting better. Even just a dark line to split up the colors.
Right.
Just to carry it all the way across, if that isn't, because it's easy to see where the colors are, but then when you get to the other end, you kind of have to follow it along, and so you're sitting there and you're like, if there's just a dark line just capturing the color category and just bring it right across, then at least it just kind of groups them together.
Good point.
It's just a grouping thing. It makes it a little easier. Otherwise, it's great.
Chris, you send it to me electronically, I can play with it too. You won't like the way it looks by the time I'm done with it.
I have a couple of questions.
Ken?
On capital, on the yellow, let's go to the yellow. I'm sure this has been explained along the line, but the 10-wheel dump truck that was budgeted at 207 came in 138 over.
Ken, I have a feeling that that was all budgeted into one one amount, and I started to break it out. So it's really incomplete at this point. Well, I'll fix it tomorrow and send this all out to you again with the complete yellow section.
Well, could you also explain to me on the 216 fund, safety upgrades and improvements at Jones, budgeted at $700,000, revised to $300?
Right, that was a project that they chose not to do at the moment.
I see.
And I know if you want to jump in.
That's the project that we talked about before. That's
Okay, I thought there was some...
At Jones, that because of the issues with the design of the improvements that need to be done, is going to be pushed off till next summer.
Because of the more extensive security requirements.
Right.
And is it my understanding that it was also done to offset the additional costs for those same security upgrades at the other facilities? Because we didn't have sufficient funds. Thought so.
We're borrowing from Peter to take hold.
Yes, we were. Well, we decided which we could get done. as opposed to doing partial and waiting for new funding. And quite honestly, that's what the luxury of the way we do the bonding questions allows us to do, is to move funds within those projects, similar to the way we do it on the town side.
But it should be noted that because we did all of these together,
Very good.
we're getting over $800,000 back from the state.
Yes.
Because we did it all together, we did it the right way.
Yeah. Good point, Mike. Anything else on the capital projects? Building permits at 11, almost halfway through the year. Golf course, they continue to struggle. I know that the first selectman's working with the chairman of the golf course commission to come to something, so. Anything else, Sheila? Sheila, is there anything else we need to be aware of?
I don't think so, not tonight.
Thank you. Is there a motion to accept the bills for the town for the month of November in the amount of $1,989,890? I have a move to my left, second over here. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Recusals? None. Thank you. Review and take possible action on the 2015 meeting schedule. I took the opportunity to go through it, and it doesn't look like it conflicts with any of the, as Tracy's already taken care of this, doesn't look like it conflicts with any traditional holidays, so, and again, none that you need to be concerned with. Everybody okay with it? Is there a motion to set the dates as delineated here? Second?
Second.
Call the question, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? Thank you.
It's not snow on March 9th,
Where are you going?
though. Skiing.
Ah, you hope it is snowing.
Yeah.
Come on, what are you talking about? Item 7. Oh, wait, before we move off of that, Sheila gave me a copy of the proposed budget preparation, or the budget preparation, not proposed, but the budget preparation schedule that the Board of Selectmen has put together. At this point, they're calling for workshops January 15th and January 16th. Is that correct? That's correct. That's correct, on Thursday and Friday, in the Selectmen's wing, I suspect?
That's correct. 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah. And a more detailed breakout of who's going to be presenting. will
Yeah, that'll be with your
at some
books,
point.
okay?
This is still draft.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so don't put this down in permanent ink, right?
They usually go until about noon, right? Both mornings,
Yeah.
8:30 to noon or whatever.
And then your hearings,
Yes, yes. But we just approved those.
oh, okay, I just
With the
wanted-
regular schedule, we just
Okay,
approved
that's-
those. Okay. Oh, wait a minute, no, we didn't.
Yeah, it's part of the schedule.
There's a conflict somewhere here.
Originally, it was the second on your.
Yeah, it should be March 3rd.
So this should be Wednesday, March 3rd?
No.
Or Tuesday, March
Tuesday
3rd.
should be March 3rd, not
Oh,
March
okay.
2nd.
Oh,
I don't think that makes a difference. Does it? All right. Yeah, March 3rd for the first, for the public hearing, March 5th for our first workshop, and March 9th for a second workshop if necessary. All right, good. Committee reports? Mike, anything further on high school?
Proceeding well.
Proceeding well, good. Anybody want to talk about the meeting we had prior to this one? We had, I'll take the opportunity, as every board member here was, participated in a workshop, if you will, a budget workshop with the Board of Education. It's something we've been doing for years. We start preliminary discussions about where the initiatives are, where the pressures are, where the cost pressures are, where the potential savings opportunities are. And I think it was a pretty good exchange to get an idea of what's going on. While we weren't presented with any numbers. It's more along the ideas of, trends and where things are going. We will have the superintendent's budget on January 5th.
And we will meet again with the Board of Education on the 20th, I
Good.
believe, somewhere in there.
As you folks well know, the season is well underway. Well underway. Any old business? New business? Public forum? Before we adjourn, I would like to wish all my board members and those in the room that we work with on a regular basis the best of holiday seasons. May they be peaceful and happy and safe. And the same to those in our viewing audience. No matter which holiday you celebrate this time of year, may it be a blessed one. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
First, I'd like to say that, and you as well,
Thank
the
you.
holidays, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jonathan. Call the question. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All abstain.
You always remember to say happy holidays.